Hello and welcome to another episode of the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Austin Yambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. The Great Debaters Contest is a show full of twists and turns, and today we seek to crown our best three debaters. They will be battling out this motion. A united Africa is better than a unilateral Africa. And the nominees for this prestigious award are Edward Njoroge from Moi Forces Academy,
Esperancia Kapanga from Kenya High School.
and finally we have Eden Kimondo from Loreto High. These students have 3 minutes to debate this motion. They may either propose or oppose. They will then get questions from the audience and respond to them appropriately.
The title for the Great Debate of the season will be contested by three of the best debaters nominated from the judges' table. They take the stage to convince the audience why they deserve this title. The motion this week is, a united Africa is better than a unilateral Africa.
Each contestant has 3 minutes to make their submissions. The audience also gets a chance to put their questions to each team. Each side will have an additional 1 minute to make a final statement. The judge's decision is final. But in a twist, the audience also gets to have their say through the popular vote. This will see an extra 5% added to the school that wins this vote. The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.
So we'll begin with Esperancia Kapanga from the Kenya High School. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Esperancia Nasimiu Kapanga from the Kenya High School, and I'm before you to propose the motion that states, a united Africa is better than a unilateral Africa. First off, I'd like to define a united Africa and a unilateral Africa. So a united Africa, in my understanding, is a situation whereby all African countries are equally represented in a centralized system of governance where they come up with policies and implement them as best fits each and every country in Africa. A unilateral Africa is whereby one African country is given the mandate to govern all other African countries. What does this mean? This country is given the power to come up with policies and laws and then afterwards pass them to the other countries without asking for the other countries' opinions. First off, Mwamba ngoma huvutia kwake. This is a Swahili saying that means everybody does their work for their own benefit. What am I trying to say? If we were to have one country that is governing the rest of Africa, that is coming up with policies and laws in order to run the rest of Africa, they would most definitely make decisions that benefit themselves. Let's look at it from a financial perspective. When you look at tax on imported and exported duties, business students can tell you that countries always put a higher tax on goods that are found in the country compared to goods that are not found within the country. They put a lower tax on goods that are not in the country so that they can get more of these goods in the country at a subsidized rate compared to goods that are there in the country. What am I trying to say? If one country is given the power to rule over the rest of Africa, rather to govern the rest of Africa, they would most definitely make laws and policies that will benefit them more compared to if all the African countries would come together, sit down and agree on policies that will benefit each and every country that is involved in this organization. Secondly, having a united Africa will ensure that the interests of small countries in Africa are better protected rather than having a single superpower. For example, let's take our devolved government in Kenya. We see that each and every county has its own parliament. Rather, it has its own representatives who sit down and make laws and rules for these counties. Then again, we have the centralized parliament, whereby each and every county is represented. When these leaders from every county come and sit down together, what do? They come up with policies, and they also implement things that will best fit each and every one of their counties. Then again, this is to ensure the equal distribution of resources to these counties. That if this was extended to the whole of Africa, I'm very sure that most African countries would rise to higher levels than where they are right now. My third point is, a united Africa provides for an integration of varied ideas. I'd like to take the example of phones. I'm very sure the first phone that was invented is not the same as the latest iPhone model. What am I trying to say? One person will come up with an idea, and probably another representative from a different country will modify that idea. And in the end, we get a better solution for all the problems that we have in the continent of Africa. Thank you.
We'll have Eden Kimondo.
According to my understanding, a united Africa is where we come together in our diversities. We come together with whoever we are, and we learn to mingle. While a unilateral Africa is where we put everything that defines us as different Africans and come together, having one president, one economy, one currency, one common market. A question: can Africa really be like the United States of America? Imagine our Kenyan flag with just the red color. Imagine our Kenyan flag with just the black color. It would be dull, and it would not symbolize anything. Our flag has 4 colors. It symbolizes the black people, the bloodshed that was given, the white for peace, and the land that we step on. It is in the same way when we have a united Africa, all that our diversities are brought together. The tourist attraction centers become more attractive when you're being told you're going to South Africa in Africa, not you're going to somewhere in Africa, but as a big country. As a child, you felt more satisfied when your mother told you you're going to a supermarket instead of your mother telling you you're going to a shop. When we make Africa a unilateral continent, that is exactly what we're doing. We're saying we're going to a shop instead of letting it be the way it is, getting it, all its raw materials, bringing them together and finding a way to put them together and work with them. A unilateral Africa will create a form of dictatorship, because this is where we'll have to choose one person to lead the whole continent. Are you aware that the United States of America can fit into Africa 3 times? That is meaning USA, China, Japan, and India can fit into Africa. Having one person leading that one thing will be overwhelming, and that will make them just want to think about themselves and what they can amass from all the wealth that is in the country, or in the continent, that will become now one country. Africa is a beautiful place. Africa has so much heritage. Africa has so much that if we try to put it together, we will destroy it instead of letting it be. Let us grow in our uniquenesses. Let us learn to appreciate each other. Let us learn to appreciate Africa as a united continent other than a unilateral continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Eden. Next, we'll have submissions from Edward.
I'm Edward Njoroge from Moi Forces Academy, and I'm here to propose the motion. This means, 1, a united Africa simply means different states coming together as one, but they still retain their independence. Unity means 1. Now, a unilateral Africa, as has been suggested by my friends, suggests that we have one leader, which is kind of unfair. You know, we can always learn a lot from relationships with ants. We can always learn a lot. And we can learn a lot from wolves. Now, here's how. National Geographic says that a lone wolf, yes, a lone wolf, meaning an Africa that is united, it doesn't have the idea of the diversity. A lone wolf can barely survive a month. But how long do ants survive? I can give you an example from a movie. In a movie called An Ant's Life, ants found a very big pillar that was disrupting them from being able to build their home. What they did, 10,000 ants came together. They formed a cannonball and a catapult. Cannonball, catapult. And when they threw themselves, what happened? They were able to break through the pillar. That is what happens in a united Africa. You know, ants, they have a pinch of unity, a pinch of unselfishness, and a pinch of self-discipline. That is what they bring to the table. You know, if we Africans were like that, the world would be great. Amazing, in fact. Now, ants promote sharing of resources. Now, this means that as much as an ant does this, that, or the other, everybody benefits. They are unselfish to that effect. They also have division of labor. This means that an African country can produce this, that, or the other independently. We have, when you're making a home, some ants carry leaves, some carry small rocks, but in the end product is beautiful, especially to them. This is what ants bring to the table, and if you were to copy this method, our world would be awesome. Now, when you look at our resources, you see that uniting them, well, it doesn't really do much for us. But if we are diverse, what it means is everything we bring to the table can make something that is as united as this. Okay? Now, another interesting fact about ants is how they survive with each other. Now you see, an experiment conducted also proved that when ants were put together to drown, they didn't, because they looked for each other, they clinged to each other, and they formed a raft, and hence they floated. In the same way, we can see a united Africa when Kenyan forces, Ugandan forces, and Ethiopian forces fought together to fight terrorism in Somalia. Thank you.
My name is Shalmith. My question is to Edward. Is it possible to merge a developed country like South Africa with Somalia?
Edward, you have 2 minutes to respond and give your final submission.
You know, the question that's been posed to me is quite related to the analogy I gave about a raft. Now let me put it this way. I never finished it, and this is the point. Now, when ants united together, even when put in the middle of a lake, they were able to hold on to each other so much that they actually got to shore. That means they got to safety. That means they got to prosperity. And they were able to grasp themselves. That is what unity is about. Now, what would happen if you put a lone wolf in the middle of the ocean? Well, yes, wolves, according to National Geographic, can naturally swim. That is what a unilateral society means. But in the middle of a lake or the ocean, how much energy are you taking from it? Almost too much. Ants were able to cling their jaws together. This means we were able to share resources, whether it is in our armies, our finances, everything. This makes everything better. Now, it's simple. A united Africa is better than a unilateral Africa. You see, a united Africa is like you. When you look at the person who's right next to you, you'll be able to see them. But a unilateral Africa is like you again. When you look at the person right next to you, you won't even see anything. You'll see a vacuum. Now, I ask you again, which one is better, united or unilateral? Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Eden, you have 2 minutes to make your final submission.
I would like to give the analogy of the swans flying. They're beautiful birds, white, and they make the skies look so beautiful even on a cloudy day. When they fly in a certain pattern that is a V-shaped, that these last ones are able to balance the ones at the front. They do not fly in a straight line, and that is exactly what we mean by a united Africa. We will fly in a way that we are able to balance out all the other countries. We will fly in a way that no country is being left behind. We will fly in a way that if one swan gets sick, other two are able to drop out and the balance still remains to help this other swan come up. A Kiswahili saying says, kidole kimoja hakivunji chawa, which means you can't kill an insect with one finger. You need 2 or more fingers to kill that insect. But a unilateral Africa just shows that how much that too many cooks spoil the broth. If we're too many in one, we cannot be able to agree. If we have our own opinionated decisions and we sit down and we clarify what is what, and we have ways that we should show that this goes with this and this cannot go with this. That is the only way that we will be able to push Africa from a third world continent to a better continent, a continent which will be known as an economic hub. Let us not have it unilaterally. Let us have it united. We will end so much. We will end the bloodshed in Africa trying to fight for power for that one person to rule us. But if we have it like under the organization of the AU, life would be better, life would be simpler, and all Africans would smile all the way to where they want to be. Thank you.
Esperanzia, you also have 2 minutes to give your final submission.
I'd like to point out that even in the debates that we have had thus far, unity and teamwork have been distinctive aspects that have been observed by the judges. I must confess that even as I stand here, I actually miss my team. It felt good working together in order to bring out the points that we wanted to bring out. Even so, comrades, I'd like to point out that for a clay to take shape and become a pot, it needs water, the potter's hands, the wheel, the blazing fire, and turn into color it. This is what we want to make Africa. Need I say more? Thank you.
The panel of judges will give you 1 minute each to convince us why you should be crowned the great debater. We'll start with Edward Njoroge.
You know, in our past debates, we've all focused on one thing: unity. I mean, let's look at it. Our motion, teachers versus computers. What was the result? Teachers and computers. Remember my quote, 50 plus 50 equals 100. That's exactly what we said. If you want to unite Africa, you need a leader. Leaders from different areas. Now, in the same way you brought us here, we've been able to prove to you that a united Africa is better than a unilateral Africa. Because let's face it, the three of our opinions have proved to be better than just one. Why do I deserve to win? Well, I'll just ask you the question. Do I deserve to win? Yes. Amazing. Thank you.
Eden, it's your turn to convince us. You have 1 minute.
We all start small. I didn't start great. I had a team behind me. I had people who made me realize I can do it. I did not come and do it by my own. Paul Tergat says in his advert, the Johnny Walker advert, the greatness of a man is not is not measured by how he begins, but by the strength of his finish. My teammates, Loreto High School Limuru, our research club, I thank you very much, for you're the reason I am standing here, because without you, I wouldn't have been here. The audience for recognizing and appreciating and taking time to listen to what I had to say. The panel of judges for the belief you've had in me. This all contributes to everything. As we're talking about it, unity is what has brought me here. Unity in a team, unity in that people can believe in me, unity that I have people behind me. Thank you.
Esperanzia, it's your turn.
Well, that question did come as a surprise, I must say. But I'd like to point out the fact that a house divided against itself cannot stand for long. I must say that the three of us are very formidable debaters. But in every house, you can't have everybody leading. We take ideas and we integrate them. Miss Omangi, my teacher, my fellow debaters, Clarice and Hallelujah, the students from my school, our dear judges who've had belief in me, and God above can testify that most of the things we say here, we integrate from different sources. I would like to say thank you, for they have had the belief in me, for having been nominated as one of the debaters. I will not say that I am better than anyone else. I will not say that I deserve it more than any other person who's a good debater deserves it. All I can say is, look at the number of people who have believed in me. Thank you.
So that debate ends here. We'll hear the results of that Great Debaters Contest after the final.
The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with a widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.